When I look back on the last few years of my life, I realize how many times I thought I had parenting figured out, only to be humbled by the reality that raising a child is one of the most unpredictable and challenging journeys anyone can ever face. My name is Karen Miller, and I live in Denver, Colorado, with my son, Jason. He's 17 now, almost ready to step into adulthood, but a couple of years ago, I nearly lost him, emotionally, if not physically. This is the story of how my son struggled with his identity, how our family almost fell apart, and what I did that changed everything for both of us. Jason had always been different. Even when he was little, he never quite fit into the boxes that other kids seemed to slide into so easily. He wasn't a sporty type like his cousins, though he tried soccer and baseball when he was younger. He wasn't exactly a math whiz either, but he was creative. He loved sketching, playing guitar, and writing in his journal. Still, I could tell that he always felt a step behind his peers, like he was on the outside of a group he longed to belong to. When he entered high school, everything became harder. The shift from middle school to high school in a city like Denver can be brutal. Suddenly, there were cliques, expectations, and unspoken rules about how to dress, who to talk to, and what to care about. Jason never said much, but I saw the way he would come home, retreat to his room, and close the door behind him. At first, I chalked it up to teenage moods. I thought maybe he just needed space, like any other kid his age. But the signs were there. He wasn't eating dinner with us as often, his grades slipped, and he stopped hanging out with the few friends he had. There were nights when I'd pass by his door and hear music playing, sometimes soft and sad, sometimes loud and angry. I wanted to help, but I didn't know how. One evening, I went upstairs to tell him dinner was ready. I didn't knock, just opened the door a crack, and that's when I saw him sitting on his bed, staring at his journal with tears streaming down his face. My heart dropped. Jason wasn't the type to cry easily. I quietly closed the door and went back downstairs, but that image stayed with me all night. The next day, I asked him gently if he wanted to talk about what was bothering him. He shook his head. "I'm fine, Mom," he said, forcing a smile. But I knew better. Weeks went by, and I started noticing changes in his behavior that scared me. He wore long sleeves, even in the middle of summer. His eyes looked tired, like he wasn't sleeping well. The journal never left his side, but he became defensive when I asked about it. I prayed it was just normal teenage angst, but in the back of my mind, I feared it was something deeper. The turning point came one Saturday afternoon. I was cleaning the living room when I found a crumpled piece of notebook paper shoved under the couch. At first, I thought it was just homework, but when I opened it, my breath caught. It was a poem Jason had written. The words spoke of feeling lost, invisible, and like he didn't belong anywhere. It ended with a chilling line. "If I disappeared tomorrow, would anyone even notice?" I froze. Tears blurred my vision as I held that piece of paper. My son was crying out for help, and I had been too blind to see it. That night, I knocked on his door again, but this time I didn't back down when he said he was busy. I walked in, sat on the edge of his bed, and handed him the paper. "Jason," I said, my voice trembling, "I found this. Please talk to me." For a long moment, he just stared at the floor. Then, finally, he broke. He started sobbing, and when I pulled him into my arms, he clung to me like he hadn't in years. "Mom, I don't know who I am," he whispered through his tears. "I don't fit in anywhere. Everyone else seems to know what they're doing, who they want to be, but I don't. I feel like I'm just pretending all the time. And I hate myself for it." My heart shattered. I realized then that his struggle wasn't just about school or friends, it was about his identity, his sense of self. He was lost, and the weight of that confusion was crushing him. In that moment, I did the only thing I could. I held him tighter. "Jason, you don't have to figure everything out right now," I said softly. "You are not alone. You're my son, and I love you exactly the way you are. We'll get through this together." It wasn't a magical fix. That conversation didn't suddenly erase his pain, but it was the first time he opened up to me, and I knew I had to keep that door open. The following week, I reached out to a counselor at his school. With Jason's permission, We arranged for him to see a therapist who specialized in teenagers struggling with identity and self-esteem. At first, Jason resisted. He didn't want to talk to some stranger, but after a few sessions, he started warming up. He told me later that it was the first time he felt like someone really understood what he was going through without judging him. At home, I made changes too. Instead of pressuring him about grades or comparing him to other kids, I focused on supporting his passions. I bought him a new sketchbook, encouraged his music, and even sat with him while he played guitar, letting him teach me chords even though I had no talent for it. Little by little, I saw sparks of joy return to his eyes. One of the most profound moments came a few months later during a school talent show. Jason had signed up to perform a song he had written. I was nervous for him, knowing how shy he could be, but when he stepped onto that stage with his guitar and started to play, I was blown away. His voice was raw and filled with emotion, and the lyrics spoke of struggle, hope, and finding light in the darkness. The audience erupted in applause when he finished, and for the first time, I saw Jason stand tall with pride in who he was. After the show, he hugged me tighter than ever before and whispered, "Thanks for believing in me, Mom." The journey wasn't over. He still had ups and downs, moments of doubt and anxiety, but he was no longer carrying the burden alone. Therapy, music, and unconditional support gave him the tools to navigate his identity and embrace the fact that it was okay not to have all the answers yet. Today, Jason is preparing for college. He's considering studying psychology, hoping to one day help other teenagers who feel the same way he once did. Watching him grow into a young man who is compassionate, self-aware, and resilient fills me with pride. Looking back, I realized the most important thing I did wasn't fixing his problems. It was listening, validating his feelings, and walking beside him through the storm. Parenting isn't about having all the answers. Sometimes it's simply about being there, holding space for your child, and reminding them that they are loved unconditionally. If you're a parent reading this and you see your child struggling, please don't ignore the signs. Ask the hard questions. Be patient. Show them love in ways they can feel. Because sometimes, what changes everything isn't a grand gesture. It's the quiet, unwavering presence of someone who refuses to give up on them. That's what saved my son. And in many ways, it saved me too.